It started with when I lost my job, in 2002, when my private equity group said they're selling my business. Guys, I'm just so proud of her for putting this book out. I'm sorry.
The whole purpose of this show is to engage with business owners and be able to answer questions for people that will give them some insight and perspective on how to grow and scale a business. Not only leadership, but real life examples. This is the golden moment. I would do business with you right now.
Hello and welcome to 10X Owners Live, everyone. We are so excited to see you all, and it made my day looking at Frank's book. I also saw Paul's book. It means the world to Frank. I don't know how you got that copy. I'm like confused as to how you actually have that, and it's already tabbed. That's amazing. A little bit of big news around the Cardone Ventures team is that this book launched today, and
yes,
why we're excited about this is because we wrote it for you. I wrote it for you in figuring out how to help you guys scale and grow your businesses. We know that people is one of your biggest challenges. Who has people problems? Will you put in the chat yes if you have people problems? Elizabeth is like yes. Elizabeth raised her hand. She's like yes, I have people problems. Like, Brennan, do you want to raise your hand? Do you have people problems?
I got all sorts of people problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, why don't we normalize people problems?
Well, here's the thing. You're not going to, if you're serious about building a business, you got to have people problems, because it takes people to build the business, and people have problems. So their problems become your problems when your problems become their problems. So everybody's got problems. The question is, how do you work together to help everybody solve their problems? For most employees, their problems are having a place that can develop them, who can give them security in a job, in a business that's going to grow and create more value so they can grow and create value. It's in an environment where they are excited and inspired to work there with people who treat them kindly and respectfully. And it's about having an opportunity to do something bigger with their life with people they enjoy doing it with. That's their problems. Your problems is that you have a huge target that you want to try to achieve in your business, hopefully. And in order to do anything great or anything massive, you need people. And you need people who are aligned, and you need people who are inspired, and you need people who are pulling to success. Well, what we know is that most people don't know how to find, attract, align, develop, and retain those people. And what I know is what's in here is the evidence. It's the proof. It's the exact process we follow, we teach, we use, we deploy,
Can we
we
share
engage.
A little secret about the text we got? I think this relates to the text that we got just a few minutes ago.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the text that we got just a few minutes ago that just entirely relates to people and like why you need to learn this stuff, why you have to be a master at this, is as of, I think 2 hours ago, we just hit, as an organization, our largest revenue month of the history of our company. And you might be hopping on 10X Owners live call and think, now, why would I care that Cardone Ventures hit its largest revenue month? And the reason that you should just care, outside of celebrating other people's success, we could all use more of that in this world, but why you should care is like, how do you do that? How do you take systems and processes and listen, like truly listen and incorporate them? Because other people are having success doing this. There is no reason besides you as a leader that you cannot duplicate this success.
And I want to point out one other fact, and I think this is important because, as you guys know, I talk all the time. If people are going to give you advice, if they're going to give you guidance, if they're going to give you their opinion, if they're going to give you and share their perspective, even if it's not wanted, you need to quantify and qualify and ask the right questions of the people you're listening to. So not only has Cardone Ventures just had the single best month, biggest month in the history of the business, but our 10X Health business just had the single best month in 10X Health. And so that business 12 months ago was a couple $100,000 a month. This month we'll do over 800,000. So I want you to think about it, because we own, with Gary Brecken Sage, we own that business, and getting their teams aligned with our teams, getting everybody synchronized and working together. The most important thing is everything we teach at Cardone Ventures, everything we show all of you, everything that we spend hours and hours developing and deploying to you is exactly what we do. And if you get this book, if you don't own a business and you want to own a business, get this book. Why? Because you can master what's in this book for a business owner, and you can practice building a team for a business owner who has a product or a service that works, but they don't know how to build a team. And if you simply go in for that business owner and take this and put it into the business, that business owner will ask you to become a partner, because you'll know something they don't know. Because here's what I know. The what you do only matters until it works. And then it's who you do it with and how you do it from that point forward. This book breaks down the exact sequence that Grant Cardone, Brandon Dawson, the 10X, all of our Cardone enterprise companies, which, by the way, Grant's businesses, the real estate business, is better than it's ever been, and it just had one of the biggest months. CTTI training is bigger than it's ever been, and it had one of its biggest months and will blow away this quarter. Cardone Ventures, 10X Health, all of our businesses are going through massive, explosive growth. Even our new companies, 10X Incubator, is starting to take off with huge momentum. What you need to do is you need to learn to master people. And tonight's going to be about people.
And some people, we've gotten this feedback, they'll turn the show off, or they will shoot us a private message like, all you guys do is talk about and promote your own successes. And for us, knowing what everybody has been through over the last year and a half with the entire world shifting, we think that that is so important for business owners, because you're not getting that anywhere else. You're not hearing about people who are winning and having success despite everything going on. And you need to believe that that is possible for you. It is not just possible for us. And so as we dive into a little bit more about teamwork and more importantly, how you build your team members, be thinking with, okay, forget my ego, forget everything I think I might know about leadership. How could I try to implement this system? Because that's what it is. It is an end-to-end start to finish system, and see how this works in my business. Because when you remove the ego, it's so funny. Some people show up. We have this often. People will show up and they want to grow and they're excited. They want a 10X. Who wants to 10X? Everybody wants to 10X. And then they start getting into the nitty gritty of doing something a different way. And all of a sudden there's pushback and there's resistance and there's lack of execution. There's lack of follow through. Well, how do we rectify it? If you want to be 10X, you have to move forward and actually implement these strategies. So one of my challenges is implement it as if it is a end-to-end system, because it is. Don't just pick the pieces that you like. Grant oftentimes says everything that you highlight in a book is probably the stuff that you shouldn't actually be looking at, because the highlights are all the things you agree with. So what are the things that you don't actually agree with? You're like, man, we have this one client right now, refuses to do daily all team meetings. It's like, I won't do it. It is a waste of time. I don't know why my whole team would come for 15 minutes. We already know what's going on. Well, okay, you can say that, that's great. But knowing that success leaves clues, and you look at some of the largest organizations in the world, having a centralized time every single day where teams come together to meet and have a very structured agenda is a recipe for success. And so instead of saying, oh no, I know best, why not implement it? And every single chapter has some sort of implementation challenge for you guys, so that you move out of potentially ego. It's okay to talk about ego. Move out of the ego play and say, I'm just going to execute and implement and see how this goes.
And you know, we know for a fact what's in this book works, because in fact, I shot 9 podcasts last week with you. People on here, people like Pat Morstead, people that are on here listening to what we're talking about, who are seeing the largest growth they've ever had in the history of their business.
So cool.
Seeing the success to their teams. I interviewed a kid that was doing $1 million and is going to do 7 million this year. He's 17 years old. How many of you adults would like to have businesses with 55 employees doing 7 million.
Sounds pretty sweet.
It's when you get it right and you get the team going and you get the momentum going and you work through the hard stuff and you learn how to align people, then what happens is the business creates a life of its own and it starts to accelerate. The law of the big mo. That's exactly correct. How do you create law of big mo? You do it by learning how to attract the right people, getting the best out of them, and having them pursue their goals inside of your business. It is the only way to do it. And if you guys want to challenge that, just look at how many organizations, things like Amway and Mary Kay and all these earn extra income programs where people go and do things that are so uncomfortable. They learn to go recruit in grocery stores. They go make hundreds of phone calls to try to get an appointment to sell life insurance or get Amway or get something. And a lot of people are turned off by that kind of business. But the people that have to persevere through that, they become stronger people because they get so much rejection that they learn to become tough if they're serious about their goals. And they have to develop their communication skills in order to become more effective and profound. Look at EXP. The most successful people inside of EXP Realty are those that learned how to recruit people and get them to be in their organization and then teach them how to succeed. The art in having expansion, personal, professional, and financial expansion can only happen through others.
So true. This is just a side note. I didn't even tell you this when it happened. On Thanksgiving Day, my brother and I, we took a trip to Starbucks. It's one of our favorite places to go. And my brother was talking about this mental toughness, and he always does these little challenges with himself. Like he'll stay up 36 hours straight. And in this particular day, he's like, okay, today's challenge is going to the cashier and asking the cashier if I could get a 20% discount. And he said this, he was like, can you do it? And he like kind of challenged me. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And at the end, I just was like, I can't imagine. I thought of you guys, like, I can't imagine going on Owners Live, knowing that I'm a criminal because I'm not taking our own guidance and advice of doing difficult things and removing my ego to just develop that strength. And so I did it. And the guy actually checked with the manager. He like, I thought he was going to say no immediately. He's like, he calls into his thing. Chris thinks he faked it. He's like, are we offering a Thanksgiving discount? And then he like pauses, pretends like somebody's talking. Oh yeah, I guess they can't hear me. It pretends like somebody's talking. And then he's like, yeah, I don't think we're doing it. And then I asked a second time, because once you develop that muscle, it becomes easier to do these difficult things, to implement challenging things with your team, to hold people accountable, to really look at the numbers, look at your bank account. And as you become stronger in these little seemingly tiny areas of life, it's amazing what happens as you develop the confidence and shed that with your team, because they become more confident when you are looking at those things as well. Anyway, I'm getting all sorts of excited about all the content in the book.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, by the way, appreciate you giving me all that good Instagram content from our role play. You rocked it, brother. Oh man. I got a lot of good comments on that. What's that, Buck?
I want to read something really quick. This has to do with Natalie's new book. Teamwork by Natalie Dawson is simply amazing. And every chapter gives you insight on how to find and build your team. If you've ever wished your people were more engaged, motivated, aligned with your goals, get a copy of Teamwork today, and then get a copy for each one of your people. Use it like a Bible study course. It's that powerful. Get it today, read it together, and watch your team go 10x. Anybody know who said that? Anybody got a guess who said that? That's right, GC, Uncle G, giving the seal of approval on this book. The man who knows what a New York Times bestseller looks like. So if GC's telling you to make it a Bible study, then I don't know why you haven't gone to cardonventures.com/teamwork, cardonventures.com/teamwork. Don't just get one for your entire team, and you guys read it together. Make it an exercise for your entire team. So I know we're going to talk about team alignment tonight. I thought this was a really interesting story. We're talking about leadership, and we're talking about accountability for leadership and teamwork. So if you missed the news on Monday, Jack Dorsey stepped down as the CEO of Twitter. Now, where I find this really interesting is the new CEO started at the company as an employee when there were 800 employees. And he was not C-suite or even VP level, and worked his way from an engineer to a CTO to now the CEO in less than 10 years. Imagine that, less than 10 years, and now he is the CEO of Twitter. And so, Natalie, when you hear a story like that, you got to think about the unbelievable alignment inside that organization and his ability to move through the organization that way, right?
Yeah, it's alignment at scale. And my book starts with, first, Twitter has a big freaking mission. Like the mission and the vision of what Twitter is and what Twitter ultimately wants to become. Forget what we know Twitter as today. It's pivoting the perspective of, we need talent for the future. So we're going to create future opportunities and start talking about that, which would engage him very early on in his career. And then like the advanced version for people who are real studiers, the advanced portion of this is around the employee maturity model. And I go through step by step as to how to build out the employee maturity model. So there is clarity for any position in your organization, how they move through that. And I think people get this confused. It's not like there is this crystal clear path, because if the business doesn't hit its vision, is the engineer going to be able to be CEO one day or be CTO one day? Of course not. The engineer has to learn how to create true value. They have to learn how to add a valuable skill set to that environment. So I love Grant's comment, and I didn't even ask him to say that, but I love Grant's comment about giving this to your teams, because as important as it is for you as a leader to know these things and to understand how to engage and develop and align and attract your team members, what's even more important than that is your ability to have your team members learn these things. And if your team members learn these things, they're actually able to create true value in your organization. I know some of our Cardinal Ventures team members aren't here, and I'm so transparent. I started this morning's all-team meeting off with saying, I want you guys to read this book. Yes, this is for business owners, but ultimately we are limited if you guys don't understand how business in this environment works. And so starting from, this is why we have a mission statement, this is why we have a vision statement, and teaching them how we use these things so that they can duplicate us. Brandon and I and Buck and Jeff and Heather, we don't want to be the smartest people in our organization and have everything go through us. That's going to create a contraction in our environment. We need everybody to understand all of these different things that they're experiencing in the environment. The only way they understand it is if they know that it's happening and you point it out to them. So first it has to happen, which means you as a business owner have to incorporate these different practices into the business. But then this pivot takes place where then they are the representation of this brand, and they are able to help you as true partners with you and people who are interested in helping you get to where you want to go. But that also ties to you caring about where they want to go and you having a clear mission about where you want to go and being able to create that ultimate alignment.
You know, we haven't even mentioned this yet. I have not heard it mentioned once. The book is right now special offer. You can get the digital version for $1.99.
It's ridiculous.
And if you write a review and you buy the book, we are going to send you a $10 gift card for Starbucks coffee. You know why? Because we want you to enjoy a cup of coffee while you read the book.
So wait
So
a
you
minute.
actually make
want
$8, but we want the reviews. So buy the book for $1.99. Please write a review. We need to get the reviews. This is a mission of mine to get Natalie her rightful due review.
I'm not amazing at math, but that is a
We know that,
great
Buck.
We know,
deal.
Buck.
That is a great deal.
Buck, but you can't keep buying them. I saw that you bought 100 of them so you can get your Starbucks card.
I need to start auditing these Starbucks cards.
In fact, here's the thing. If you want to buy one for everyone in your family, you actually make money on this deal.
Oh,
That's exactly it.
yeah, you could have Starbucks for the whole family for Christmas Eve, for Hanukkah.
Oh,
You just rake it in, have everybody, that would be amazing. Have everybody in your family leave a review and get a $1.09 book.
do it. Everybody gets an eggnog latte this season. How about that?
And Brandon, I do have to throw you under the bus a little bit. Is that okay? Brandon, when I was first writing this book, was like, why would you give all of this away in a book? That's really what you told me. Remember that?
It's RIP. It's what we.
It's like, why would you put this all out in the book? Why would you like just be so transparent in every single piece of it. And the reason, which he obviously agreed with very shortly after I reasoned with him, is that people need to know this stuff, and your business needs this. Every business needs this in order to really grow. And without this roadmap, I will never forget. Can I continue throwing you under the bus just a little bit? This is just kind of fun. It's just a little fun.
Go for it.
My very first time leading a team, it was 8 years ago. And I was all of a sudden responsible for what was called our HRMs, our human resources managers at our dental business. And I will never forget the night before leading a team. Let me know in the chat if you've ever had an experience like this. The night before leading that team, I was in a full sweat because I knew that next morning I had to go in and become a leader. Instantly, overnight, I was becoming a leader of a team. And I had no idea what conversations to have. I had no idea what structure to put in place. I had no idea how to build rapport. There were so many just tactical things that I did not understand. Nobody told me. And even though there's all of this development, there was no like, hey, Natalie, do this.
Well,
And
I mean,
so-
you'd honestly, you could read a book. The issue here is you can read the book. You can read the book 100 times,
Yep.
but until you're activated in the process and navigating through it, there's a reason that I've read 21 irrefutable laws at least 150 times,
Yep.
along with the others. So there's 53 laws in the 3 law books that Maxwell wrote. I know all 53 and I know how they work in sequence. Why? Because every time I would come up across something where there was a mistake, I'd have to go back and re-understand what I contributed that took the relationship or took the situation wrong. So the way I look at these books, like the 10X Rule or Beyond Positive Thinking or 3 Feet from Gold or any of these books that have impacted me, the whole Jim Collins series, Good to Great, Great Choice, How the Mighty Fall, none of those books were read once.
Mhm.
Those books, my originals, are all worn out.
Tattered.
And Natalie knows this. I used to give a series of books away every single year to every one of my clients, thousands of books. And they'd be individually tabbed on every single page with my notes of what I learned and what I needed to learn from those tabs with the highlights. Because I broke those books down and then I cross-referenced those books. Well, now I've converted all that to my leadership program and created hundreds of videos. Many of you are in that program. But the point here is you won't just read this book once. If you're going to build a huge team, you're going to have to revisit this book every single time something goes wrong, because as the co-creator of your destiny, as the person who's obligated to yourself to achieve your goals, it is you who has to evolve in order to attract other people to want to go on that journey with you. You cannot force anybody to take you on the journey of your goals, your dreams, your inspirations, your aspirations. So the only way that happens is by becoming an expert in the process of finding people who want to join you in that journey. And if you haven't done it yet, you don't know how to do it. And the only way to learn to do it is to continue to do it until you fail forward and learn from your mistakes. So then you can get the right people in the right place doing the right thing in order to grow the business in the right way. And what Natalie's talking about is she had to figure it out the hard way.
Well, and I was going to throw him under the bus just to like pick him back up again and put it
I
back
tried to say
together.
something nice
Well-
right before she did that.
Well, no, I dedicate the whole entire book to him because quite honestly, most people don't get the opportunity to work with somebody like Brandon, who from my standpoint, I am very normal compared to him. I did not grow up being dynamic and having energy, and Nathan, him role playing with you. Like you guys know, there's something very magical about Brandon. Grant has the same thing. I have never had that, but what I do have are systems and processes that I can use to hold people accountable because I wasn't born and I haven't developed.
Well, I've
the
been
skill
doing
set
it.
that he's
I've been
had.
doing it a long time. And
So that's where the compliment comes, because he can just lay down all of these concepts and tie them all together. And like, what just happened? Like you did this and then you did that. And how did this go? And so this book really does codify so many of the things that he just does naturally. And also maybe not so naturally, it's from a lot of experience, so that it is a step 1, step 2, step 3 formula that people who are a little bit more normal, not that any of us want to be normal, but just a little bit more normal than this freakazoid
look,
that I'm married
look, I
to
can't
is.
go. I can't do surgery. I can't.
I just called you a freakazoid. You didn't
I
even
can't.
laugh. It wasn't even laugh. It was kind of funny.
I can't do things like build engines There's so many things I can't do, but what I can do, it's because I've decided in my lifetime to be an authority on what will allow me to scale and grow. And that authority is not mastering other people. That authority is learning to master myself and then help other people learn what I learned so they can learn to master themselves and have confidence and trust in me so they'll want to work with me. So that is the only thing I could do because I wasn't good in school. I wasn't smart in a traditional book sense. So I just decided one day when I was having all this success, but equally having all this resistance and failure, that the reason I was having the resistance and failure is I was so caught up in myself. I wasn't able to attract people to actually help me. And I was a difficult person to be around. So to change your outcomes, you have to change the inside of who you are. This is really important because this book I will tell you, it is in this moment of time, it is the single highest representation of how we attract people, align them, develop them, and encourage them to succeed, and then attach them to the success of the business. There is not another example out there of how to do that with people. And so that's why this body of work is so important. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I also wrote it before Brandon got a chance to write it so that I'd light a fire under his ass to actually write a book. Who wants a book from Brandon Dawson? Does anyone put in the chat? Yes. Look at all of these people with their hands raised, clapping. Brandon Dawson, since I'm talking about my book today, can we get a commitment as to when you're going to write and publish yours?
I don't know. There's so many great books that you and Grant and other people have written. I just feel I still have so much learning to do from everyone else's books.
Oh my gosh, what a bunch of crap. Anyway, Buck, should we,
We should.
We got some questions. Let's bring them up.
We got some great questions. By the way, I just wanted to mention my personal favorite is chapter 4, where Natalie talks about firing people. And she specifically gives a story where someone tried to stump her in an audience on culture and alignment. And I love that. It's page 49 when you get there. It's one of my favorite Natalie Dawson stories.
Can I just make a quick funny story about this morning? So if those of you, if you've never been on a daily all team meeting with a Cardone Ventures team, at the end of these meetings, we end it by flipping through a book. And the idea is that it doesn't feel so good. And people are supposed to say so good to work at a place where the content is so rich, meaning normally Grant's books or Brandon's book, where the content just drips off of any page. So like we do this and somebody else stops. So you stop on a page. Well, we didn't have a 10X book. So I did it with my own book. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to do this with my own book. Well, we're with our whole team on this call. And the book the 2 pages that I opened up to and the lines that I was reading were all about firing people. I was like, I can't. So I kept flipping through the pages. Like, this is not inspirational, but it's a necessary part of creating the culture that we do have, where there are certain behavior and engagements that just aren't going to fly. And some people aren't 10X. And so how do you confront that as a leader to be responsible to your team? So,
yeah. And I love the way you relate that to being on a diet and eating your vegetables. And you don't always want to do that, but you feel good after you do. Remove the bottlenecks, so it's a great chapter. That was my point.
Awesome.
Let's go. So if you're new here and you've never done this before, it is live. You get the direct access, the direct wisdom from Brandon Dawson, Natalie Dawson here with you tonight. So go down into the reactions button. See the little reaction smiley face? Click that and then raise a hand. Raise a hand. Jared's been so patient. I know he had his hand up last week as well. So let's get Jared first. The Bright Blazer Brokers on with us tonight. He just had his platform review delivered, so I know he's pumped up and's got a lot of great questions. What's up?
Hey, Buck. I really appreciate it, man. I did want to start off with a quick win. Today was my kickoff call for my SPU team, so super excited. I have the A team. If they're on here, I know they probably are. I definitely have the A team on my side, so really excited to get going.
Nice, dude.
But so my question, it starts with like an observation, like your all's mission statement and wanting to accomplish people's personal, professional, and financial goals, and how you tie that into caring about your employees' personal, professional, and financial goals, and moving those goals from me goals to we goals. Where did the idea start because I've just been thinking about that a lot and admiring it as far as how personal you guys get into the goals and then eventually try to align that with the goals of the company. So if you could speak on that, I would love that.
Yeah, I mean, it started with when I lost my job, in 2002, when my private equity group said they're selling my business. Guys, I'm just so proud of her for putting this book out. I'm sorry. I lost my job, and on the way out the door, I didn't have one employee out of 370 even say they appreciated working with me for 7 years. And I had to go home and ask myself, like, how can I work with these people, be in the trenches, grind, leave and not have one of them say thank you for the experience, or we appreciate how hard you worked, or anything, like nothing. And it was such a horrible feeling that I went to one of my mentors and I was like, I don't want to live like this. I was so right for so long, and I was never wrong, that it just pushed anybody of quality away from me. And it was a horrible feeling. And so I asked him, I just said, hey, he goes, do you want to learn how to do it? You got to come in my business. So that's where I went to Primerica Financial Services. I went from being the CEO raising $28 million to selling $50 life insurance across people's kitchen tables, being told by adults that when I asked what happens if something happens to you, to your family, and they say, well, that'll be their problem, they'll have to figure it out. I witnessed horrible things. But I built a team of 100 people in 6 months because I had a talent that very few people had. And I had high confidence. But all of a sudden, I built this team of people who loved working with me, who volunteered to come in on Tuesday nights and on weekends and strive because they wanted to improve themselves. And in that process, I asked a logical question, which is, Gallup poll does a survey every year, and it says out of 100 million workers, 2/3 are disengaged or actively disengaged. People hate going to work. And I was thinking, like, how can you have this environment where people are working overtime, they're working evenings, they're putting themselves in uncomfortable situations, they're developing skill sets that they didn't have, they're doing it all outside the business because they don't know they can do it inside the business. So I learned, that's where I learned all about the personal, professional, financial goal planning, was from Hector Lamarck and Primerica. He taught me. And then I had a question: what happens if I could take that and put it inside traditional business? So people are actually inspired to come to work. They're actually excited to be a part of something. They actually glow with the brand because they can win with the brand. And I had this idea that if you could create a business that allowed people to pursue their goals inside the business, they would fix all the things that were broken in the business that I lost. And so that was the business I created with Audigy. And using personal, professional, and financial planning is how I recruited everybody. It's how I got them on a mission. You know, when I sold that business, my employees that had been there from day one, every one of those leadership positions was still there. In fact, half of them are still there running the business today. It's been 17 years.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
what we took to $1 billion company and grew them to 4 billion in 36 months. Everyone's like, oh, it was magic. It wasn't magic. I went to 9 countries and I asked people, does anybody ever ask you about your goals? And everyone's like, nope, we just do what the company tells me. And I helped them to identify their goals. And then I just showed them the tools we created that would allow them to succeed at their goals. I taught them how to set budgets so that they could then pay those goals. So when you learn the technical and tactical aspect of how to align people with the business becomes magical. And that's what's in this.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I've, you know, like I said, greatly admired it. I've been really paying attention. I love the way you guys do business, and I can feel it also as a business owner. So speaking on behalf of everyone on this call, 10X community, we thank you and just keep plugging away. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, brother.
Sweet, Jared.
Excited to watch you crush it, man.
For me, I
Absolutely.
experienced the personal, professional, and financial goal planning process like I talk about in the book on the second month of employment at Audigy Group. And I will never forget the moment when I was asked about my goals and why they were so small. And I thought that I had these big lofty goals. And at the time, to me, they were, but being around an environment, like a true environment, as somebody who was very young, I was 18 years old at the time, and having people see potential in you and having people believe in you can change the entire course of your life. And I know that my life was changed through just somebody questioning, like, why are your goals so small? And not have any ego about it and not being protective, but just wondering, like, wait, why am I shooting for something that's so small when I'm capable of so much more? And so I was the effect of Brandon having this disappointment and this heartbreak that he experienced early on in his own business. But I can so directly relate to many of your team members just want you to believe that that's possible for them, and for you to create that opportunity for them, and for you to be able to lay out tools and resources so that they can learn these skills, so they can become something that they don't even know is possible yet. And this is what part of his magic is that I'm talking about, of being able to see potential in people and drive them to that. Well, you can put that in place through systems and processes that still allow for this to happen, even if naturally you might not have started your business asking all your team members about their PPF goals. You don't have to feel dumb or like a bad leader or a bad business owner because you didn't know to do that. But now, how do we fix that so that your opportunity inside your organization just feels like you're creating life for people and you're creating these possibilities and something that they might not have ever dreamed of? Because that's what truly gets people excited about the work that they're doing and helping your clients or helping your customers or helping your patients, and truly putting the energy into the real problems that all of us face inside of our businesses.
Awesome. Let's go to Cindy, and then we'll go Simone. If you get your camera on, Simone, we'll come to you, and then Pat right after that. Hey, Cindy, welcome to Owners Live.
Hey, thank you. Thanks so much for taking my questions. First, I wanted to say, it's just your enthusiasm, Brandon and Natalie, it's just infectious, and your dedication is just, it's inspirational, which I know is one of your core values, but you live and breathe it. So thank you for that. My question, we're a physical therapy practice. We work with patients on their goals every day. And I'm so excited about the potential to switch that or add that to what we're doing with our staff. I'm following steps and trying to learn from the best, but I don't know where to start. I bought the book. We've already got the book on the 6th of November when it first, we were getting the program and working on buying the book, but I want to make sure to ask, how do I start? Is it a one-on-one meeting? Is it a group staff meeting? Many of the people I have right now weren't hired through the whole core value process. What's the starting point on getting this change to begin with my staff?
Do you want me to take that?
Sure.
So I think of it as two separate buckets. There's the personal, professional, and financial goal planning, which becomes this mechanism inside the business. And then there's the separate piece, which is rolling out a mission, a vision, and core values. They're two separate touch points, but they do correspond and they do flow together. So both of them are necessary in the business. When you're rolling out core values, ideally you're doing this in a meeting where you're sharing with everybody, these are the core values of the organization, and we chose these because of XYZ reasons. If you do it in that way and you explain why you chose these core values and how they're going to be used in the future, I don't think that there's a need to make everybody go through some interview process and realign with them, but you have to put in place a performance review process that assesses people on the core values. So that way the people inside the existing organization actually know that you're serious about implementing these and that they really are valuable to you. Now on the PPF side of the house, I would sit down with the team, maybe in a similar meeting where you're rolling out this vision or you're rolling out the core values, and say, hey team, I know we haven't done this before, but one thing that I recognized is that we haven't clarified what the vision of our organization is. And if our vision is X, whatever that is for you, if our vision is X, in order to get there, we need to align your goals with X, because that's how we're ultimately going to get there. And so over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be sitting down and talking about your goals so that we can build a plan for how all of us can collectively achieve our goals together through focusing on the growth of the areas that this business needs the most amount of help in.
I would tell you that what I would tell you is I would go buy a copy for every one of my employees.
Done.
I would give it to them and I'd tell them,
Absolutely.
I would tell them that I respect and care about them enough that I want them to read what you're reading so that they understand what you want to do with them through the business. And then I would do a book. I would go through each chapter with them and ask them what they learned and ask them what they were, bring people. See, this is the thing. Business owners go and tell people what to do. The whole art in this is getting people on a journey with you. And what you'll find is if you had 10 employees and you handed all 10 of them the book and you said, we want to meet, we're going to meet once every week now, we're going to meet for an hour and we're going to talk about what we learned, what we took and how we can apply it in the business. Within 3 to 5 weeks, you probably, and say it's totally voluntary. Anybody that wants to participate, I want you all to know you're welcome to participate. You would find over the course of 5 straight weeks that you'd probably have 30, 40% of the people actually coming in, actually having comments, actually participating, and that tells you something. So those are the people that you're going to spend your time with. They're the ones that are going to help you put PPF processes in place. They're the ones that are going to be the extension of you within your organization. I will tell you that 30% of the people that out of the 10 probably will fall off and say that they're not being treated fair and you're giving attention to these other people and this whole thing is stupid and they just want to come to work and be left alone. And you'll cycle those people out. And what you'll cycle in will be people that will be bought in and bound to your culture. And that cultivation process has to happen. And you do it by inviting people to join you in the process. And you will learn a lot about how people feel about, there's a lot of people that are in your sphere of influence that are unconscious about even acknowledging that they have some impact into the culture. They just show up and go home and do what they don't know they're allowed to think. And what you want to create are people that think according to you want people that think and do according to great thinking. So you got to program that into your team. But just invite them for their journey, Cindy, and I'll bet you guys will find something in every single chapter that they'll help you. And by the time you get through the book with your team, you'll have all this figured out and you'll have a team of people helping you versus you feeling you're trying to do it all by yourself.
Cindy, thanks for coming tonight.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to being there in person on the 12th. Can't wait.
Can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Cindy. Hey, before we go to Simone, I want to read one more thing. The culture of your organization is either created by design or default. If you've ever heard that before, we know that's Sharon Lecter. She says, in Teamwork, Natalie Dawson shares how to create a culture by design so that you can attract the right fabulous people, create an exciting work environment, and build incredible companies. Business truly is a team sport, and Natalie shows you how to create the right team. CardoneVentures.com/teamwork. Hey, welcome, Simone, to Owners Live. Thanks for showing up tonight. What's your question?
Hi, how are you? This is my first time joining Owners Live. Thank you. I've been amongst the 10X community for the past 8 weeks, and it's been crazy just moving through all of the information and training on with Cardone U and also with the accelerator program. And this is a journey that I have been on so much. When you were talking about losing your job, that's what had gotten me into owning my own business, because I lost my job in a very similar way, without any thank you for building a whole practice in a law firm and a whole section of the business, and they just let me go. And I had to start from zero. And in that, I had created a technology company with my husband where we have an online gaming company, and it has always been a part of our culture to be excellent at what we do. But over the years, it's just turned into just a bunch of everybody just working to work and not really putting in, and you can see it in our sales. And so this year we wanted to make a concerted effort. And when I went through the sales training, I was like, wow, this is totally different than what I thought it was going to be. And I need to get my team on this. So I started letting them listen to some of the sections, and they started realizing that they don't do enough for the business and they don't participate in the way that it is. And so I wish I knew about this book before I started that, because I would have had to read that. But I think that it's so important, and I'm on the same exact thing right now, and I'm hoping to motivate my team more. So my question really is aimed at getting everybody to put more into what we do and to go above and beyond. We do have a lot going on, but it's so hard to sometimes get everybody on the same wavelength,
Yeah,
and to
so
appreciate
first
each
thing,
other's.
yes, first thing, Simone, first thing is you're never going to get everybody on the same wavelength. And so what you need to do is, as the owner of the business, it's your job to spend 80% of your time with the top 20% of your people, and then develop those people to spend time with the next 20%, then the next 20%, because so many business owners and leaders get so focused on engaging the people that are struggling the most that they actually ignore or can't develop the people who are striving the most. And so what if you just spend all your energy, if depending on how many employees, and with Cardone U, and you read this book and you go and sit down with people and say, look, you want them to succeed inside the business, and you're willing to invest in this new training tool that will help all of you do it, versus you guys need to do it if you're going to keep your job. You're going to find that probably 50% of the people that you go home and turn Cardone U on will want to quit or say they won't want to do it because they don't want to be uncomfortable. It is the number one job of a business owner to stretch their team. It's a John Maxwell law in 21 irrefutable laws. It's law of rubber band. It's your job to stretch your team to their highest and best execution and skill set. And if you're not intentionally doing it, they're not going to do it, because people generally want to stay comfortable. So what you have to learn is how to stretch people's rubber band, and then not to an extent where they break. And then people will convert from, I don't want to do it, it's uncomfortable. And then when all of a sudden they find a breakthrough, they start achieving more than they've ever achieved. They start making more money. They start finding success. And the tougher love you give them, the more they appreciate it, because they're going to start excelling, because they're hearing things that nobody else has ever been willing to tell them. Every human has blind spots. Mm-hmm. It's your job as a leader to expose to people who want to go out and crush it and succeed in life with love where those blind spots are, because if you're not going to be honest with them and do that, no one else is going to. And so it's really super important for you to read this book and to apply it with the team that you're bringing on to Cardone U. And I promise you, your business will go through explosive growth, because one simple fact: the more algorithmic you can create a business to where everyone is doing and saying the same things and then finding success, the more success it has, the more efficient, the more effective it becomes, and the more higher quality people you attract, because it's an environment of success. And so that is the hardest thing for a business owner, is to prime that. So what you're talking about, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences as well, but read this book and do what you're doing with Cardone U, and good for you for plugging into the accelerator programs. We're just so excited to have you be part of the community.
Everyone on this call remembers their first 8 weeks being introduced to 10X. I remember 100%. It was like a whirlwind. My whole life changed. I don't know what was going on. Hang in there, Simone. We are all here for you. Thank you for showing up to this call. We do this every Tuesday night, and we are here for you.
Let's bring Pat on. I want to catch up with my buddy Pat.
Let's go, Pat.
All right. So I do not have a question, but Natalie, I want to tell you congratulations. Awesome. We bought the book, literally got the email, bought the book in about 30 seconds. So quick sale for you that way. And we went right to Amazon and we bought the hardcover. So that's what we did. So Tristan and I were very happy to get that into our knowledge realm. So I have kind of a super win today, because of the fact that we are implementing so many things with what you guys have taught us. And Natalie, you know that I went to the People's Course, and was overwhelmed by all the information, and for us to turn around and literally just start to implement it, we were able to hire 2 exceptional people, remarkable people that were part of and still are part of our team. So an account manager and a project manager. Okay. And about a week ago, or no, 2 weeks ago, we let go an individual that was a mechanic for us. And then through the SBU team that we're working with currently, we instantly drafted and put together a mechanic position and got it all set up, and literally just playbook down the road, what we learned from you, Natalie. And I can't thank you enough how awesome this is and how well it works. But I want you guys to hear what the huge win was for us. So we ended up hiring this person. So that's the long story short. But what we ended up doing is right during the process of going through and asking him and listening. So Brandon, what I learned from you when I went to the pitch course in July with you is listen to people and understand what it is that they're saying to you, and then turn around and ask questions to that. So as I've got both of my project managers in sitting down, learning from me and understanding how I'm interviewing people, so they're learning through this process, so they're sitting in there with us in that whole deal, then I turned around and was listening to the potential employee for us and how he was talking about, and what we went through our how we implement through Cardone University or in how we have Cardone Ventures as our consultants, and how we implement the PPF goals. And I asked him, I said, so what are your 5-year goals? And he's like, wow, nobody's never asked me that before. And then the next thing he's like, well, we want to buy a house, and I just want to make good money. And I said, so then what's good money? Well, I mean, if I was making $25 an hour, and I said, okay, that's great. And then off of that, so now I knew where he was sitting, what it is that he kind of wants out of, life. And then all of a sudden, Dylan, one of my account managers, he speaks up, and this was just totally not coached at all, started to talk about and gave a just mind-blowing testimonial of how what we're doing with Precision Landscape, how it's so much different than any other place that he's ever been at, and just amazing to have that testimonial at that time. So then here's what I did. This is what's even more amazing. So I turned around and I said, okay, so after he got that testimonial from Dylan, I turned around and I said, okay, so on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the least interested and 10 being the most interested, how interested are you? And this guy's like, man, I am a 10. I'm totally a 10. I'm so in. I want this. And just all of these tactics, how we turn around and do things so differently. And I'm just sitting there. These things just started popping out.
Well, I think, hey, Pat, I think it's important for people to hear that 18 months ago, if it was even that long ago, maybe 15 months ago, you were telling me, I don't understand your market. You've been flat and declining revenues for the last 8 or 9 years. You've never made more than the amount of money that you made. You were doing just under $1 million. You were making like $100,000 a year. You have 5 months out of the year that nobody will work with you. Drainer. And I basically smacked you and engaged you. Now tell everybody what you've done in 1 year.
So literally it's 9 months that we've been working with you guys. We've gone from about $1 million. This morning I looked at our books. We've sold 3.5 million. We've produced 3 million. We have over 500,000 net profit, which is the most important number on all of those. And off of that, that was one of the testimonials that Dylan was saying. He goes, what company can you be with that's going to turn around and do 105% increase, in a year? And he's done this a couple of years in a row. This is just amazing. And it's through your guys' guidance and through your guys' help. And if there's anyone on here, on the 360 some people that have one question that would ever say anything about, does this stuff work? 100%, 110%. There's no question in my mind that if there's something that you guys are doing that we need to do, we're going to turn around and we're going to instantly do the best that we can to implement that and follow your guidance that way.
This is the thing though, you got to be, this is what I tell people. I get asked all the time, well, how do I know it's going to work? And I say, well, here's one thing I can assure you is if you don't apply yourself, it won't work.
Yep, 100%.
So if you're going to be the same person you are talking to me right now, don't bother. Like if you want to get the same results that you've gotten, if you want to be miserable, if you want to be upset, if you want to be angry, if you want to be mad, if you want to be a victim, if you want to be a complainer, a drainer, like if that's who you want to be, you shouldn't even be like wasting your time with us, because the only way this works is to change the outer aspects of your life. You must first change the inner aspects of who you are. And because output amplifies input. So whatever you're putting out, you get more of back. And I think that's the thing, is like just you doing on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, no interest, 10 high. That is a technical skill set I taught you at 10X Pitch. Anybody that's been through that program or has listened to me role play, watches how fast I can bring things to conclusion through learning the process of communicating and then listening. And so, you start doing that with what you just talked about, where, because you guys also have listened to us talk about the P's: promote, profit, process, people. Well, what you just talked about is now you have people that work for you that are now promoting you. It's the single biggest mistake. Business owners don't know how to get their team members to promote them and the business in their community, because they're pissed off at you for not showing them how to accomplish their goals. They don't blame themselves. They blame the place they work. So if you can convert, it's called converting your people to being your promoters, you're going to blow your business up. And the only way you can do that is by applying what's in here. Thank you, Pat. It's always good to hear
100%.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it, buddy. Hey, by the way, when Brandon says the first step is you got to work on yourself, if you thought for a second he was talking about you, he was 100%. I've had that feeling when he says that before. And trust me, it's that moment where you realize you need to make a shift because it starts with you. Natalie, I want to do something really special for everyone that is buying that book tonight. I want you to screenshot your receipt, screenshot the book. If you got the ebook, screenshot your Amazon account, maybe not your password in there, but screenshot that you got the book. And I want you to tag Natalie on Instagram.
Or show your review.
Promote at Natalie Dawson on Instagram. And then don't forget to go back and get your Starbucks card and fill out that review. Don't forget to go fill out your order number, put your review in there, and get that Starbucks card. Let's get you caffeinated for the holiday. But more importantly, let's get your team aligned with the new book from Natalie Dawson called Teamwork. You'll be one of the first to put it on your shelves. It literally launched hours ago. So you're a part of the ground floor of a book that's going to be talked about for years. You're not going to hear the end of this book. You're going to hear about this for a long time. So, hey, I'm super proud too. I remember the days, Natalie, she does this cool trick, by the way. She takes her phone and she puts it on airplane mode. I remember when she wrote this book, she put her phone on airplane mode. You couldn't get a hold of her. And she went down in the trenches and just wrote this book for, weeks on end. And so I'm super proud to see you put all that time, energy, and effort into it as well.
Thank you, Buck. And guys, thank you so much, not only for the support, but what is so inspiring to us about this community is the way that you show up, and you aren't showing up for me. I hope you're not buying this book for me. You might be buying it for the Starbucks, but ideally you're buying this because you want to learn something new to add value to your business, to add value to your team, to add value to your community. And more people need to be like the people on this call, and you are beacons for people in your community, and you're able to change the world through the way that you show up. And we acknowledge that, and we know that that's why you're here, and that's what your goals are. And that's why we create the content that we do in order to help you get there faster. And to, as my dad always tells me, to kick ass and take names.
And follow the numbers. Look at the numbers. There's almost 10 million people that have quit their jobs in the last 4 months. People are tired of being bullied and pushed around and not appreciated. There is a huge need and a huge vacuum for people that want to find somebody who's willing to allow them and teach them and develop them and work with them so they can accomplish their goals. If you have a business that works, now is the time to start bringing an army of people working with you and helping you do it. And don't forget to drop a review for Natalie. Please go do a review for her.
100%. All right, we're gonna leave you. We're gonna get you back to Josh and Ashley, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday right here back on 10X Owners Live. Have a great night, everyone.
The whole purpose of this show is to engage with business owners and be able to answer questions for people that will give them some insight and perspective on how to grow and scale a business. Not only leadership, but real life examples. This is the golden moment. I would do business with you right now.